Hancock provided work for 1/3 of Boston. It was Britain's insistence on enforcing its laws against smuggling that precipitated the Revolution. The colonies relied on their smugglers to provide food, arms, and supplies to fight Britain. The role of America's smuggling partners in the Caribbean and Bermuda has hardly been examined by historians, but it was vital. At the same time, smuggling and privateering provided a foundation for many of America's political dynasties that remain in power today. The Revolution put an end to the large profits of the smuggling business. Piracy and privateering also ceased to be an easy road to profits. The slave trade would provide the next avenue to wealth on the seas, thriving in ports that were strongholds of masonry. From Newport to Charleston, belonging to a lodge meant access to funding, insurance, and finding a crew for slave trading. It also meant access to the marketplace. But Masonic membership did not merely present opportunity in the underworld. Benjamin Franklin acknowledged that success in the printing business hinged on just which Masonic lodge one belonged to in the city of Philadelphia. John Jacob Astor, who once held 1/15 of all American personal wealth, joined the prestigious Holland No. 8 Lodge in New York to advance his businesses. Success in the legal profession, almost a prerequisite for government office, was ensured to the sons of the wealthy who could study at the Temple in London. Passing the bar is a term that originated in the Templar stronghold in London, and it is a rite of passage that must be achieved today in order to join the legal profession. Promotion in the military was denied to many who would not be part of the military lodge, a portable introduction home to brothers that included George Washington, the Marquis de Lafayette, and John Paul Jones. The secret and elite structures that have built America's business empires and family fortunes have concealed their history well. In an age when the slightest indiscretions sometimes have the potential to disqualify a candidate from public office, the tainted backgrounds and family histories of the founding fathers of the country and its institutions are remarkable. We have inherited colleges and universities named for slave traders and opium dealers. We honor presidents and other politicians whose families built their fortunes through crime. We patronize businesses founded by men whose fortunes are rooted in illegal activity. Many of the families regarded as America's blue bloods, our equivalent of aristocracy, have hidden in their ancestral closets men who would make today's organized criminals look cherubic. They were not mere horse thieves and snake oil salesmen, nor were they con men who were ridden out of town on a rail. These founding fathers rose to great wealth. Their legacy was passed on to heirs who still enjoy that wealth and their power too, which is protected by the institutions they put in place, and ensures their participation in the future. The system, thanks to ill-gotten gains and power, perpetuates itself. In a country where everyone was given a new start, a fresh chance, and an equal opportunity, it is curious that the gap between rich and poor widened so dramatically after the American Revolution. But it was not by chance or hard work. Institutions from Europe, often underground, established a network that would ensure the success and power of their own. The same secret societies that had been established in Europe for hundreds of years were imported into Europe's colonies from the earliest days. To understand how pervasive secret and elite societies are today, and how they played such a significant role in recent centuries, we must begin at one critical day in 1307, when the greatest organization the world had ever known saw its downfall. Part 1: Piracy. A merry and a short life. Medieval Europe had a class structure that divided the rich from the poor in more intrusive ways than does the gap that divides the classes today. From the lord of the manor to the king, life and death power was wielded over the common man. Society and the church also played a great role in determining just what an individual could or could not do. Strict conventions permeated society to the point that even the clothes an individual wore was subject to law. In colonial New York, when pirates paraded from one tavern to another in silk shirts and pistol-concealing waistcoats, they defied not only a societal convention, but also the law. Wearing silk or fur was a privilege of the landed few. From medieval times in Europe to the colonial period in America, society underwent a challenge that turned piracy. A merry and a short life would change the way man perceived and indeed lived his life. In medieval times the choices for most young men and women were few and unappealing. Inheritance law once gave the family estate to the eldest son, and allowed the younger brothers and sisters to stay, only if they remained unmarried. Daughters were married, often sons apprenticed out, or sent to study for the priesthood, as their fathers saw fit. War brought opportunity. Enlisting for the Crusades gave men the chance to leave behind a predestined life. The Crusades meant adventures and the possibility of bettering one's circumstances. Going to sea offered the same escape. Life at sea was adventurous, and enabled some to return home with enough money to live out their lives. However, most men who joined the Crusades to escape the mundane fate of becoming priests or apprentices could not even step back into those vocations. When Jerusalem was lost, and the Knights Templar disbanded, many had little chance of returning to society. Fearing prosecution or simply poverty, many decided to keep on enjoying the daredevil life. For the fighting soldier, one choice was to become a mercenary in the newly emerging fighting orders from Scotland to the Mediterranean Sea. For the sailor, the life of a privateer, a smuggler, or a pirate held even more promise of reward. Both mercenary and pirate became members of a society within the society. Pirates have been portrayed as bands of swashbuckling, peg-legged lunatics with homicidal tendencies since the days of the 18th century writer Daniel Defoe. The real story is less colourful and more interesting. Although many would live the merry life and the short life, as Defoe's fact-bending tales called it, others enjoyed a life expectancy longer than that of sailors on British Navy ships. They ate better, were treated less harshly, and shared in a greater portion of their gains. Pirates were banded together by covenants that provided more protection than English naval law, and were regularly voted on by every sailor aboard. The pirate ship and pirate ports like St. Mary's and Madagascar were the first instances of democratic rule. The one-man, one-vote system aboard the pirate ship was not duplicated until the piracy, a merry and a short life 11 American Constitution. Even then, voting was not as democratic as was pirate rule. Care for the injured, and for the widowed.